One of my most frequently asked questions is, what kind of knife should I buy as a beginner? And then that question has so many meanings to it. It could be, I'm a beginner on a budget. I'm a beginner that wants to go into competition knife throwing. So what I did to hopefully answer that question is I tested a bunch of my knives out, and I'm going to tell you the pros of each one, and hopefully you can make a informed decision. First off, just before I begin, I kind of have a bias against things that are Chinese made, as many Americans do, and it's because everything from China tends to break. I had a coffee pot that broke in 2 years. Had a scale from Salter that broke. What I did is I bought a scale from the 1960s made in Germany. My boyfriend bought me a vintage coffee percolator from the 50s. And well, that being said, if you're on a budget though, you probably do want to go for something Chinese made, mass produced. Most of your knives on online stores are going to be mass produced and made in China because it's just cheaper. And if you don't want to get something mass-produced and made in China, now you have to pay just a little bit more. I'm going to start off with the lowest amount of money that you may have in your budget for throwing knives. And then I'm going to go up to like the more expensive knives. If you want to go with a cheap knife that barely costs anything, go with the butter knife. And butter knives I like because they're not sharp. I don't believe in sharp throwing knives. I believe sharp throwing knives can be dangerous, and then you don't need it. You don't need the sharpness. Why have the added danger? So I bought these at Marshall's because they look like a throwing knife. I mean, they're just great for no spin, and they throw fine. I mean, I've thrown them from half a spin. The problem with buying butter knives, and I mean they're great just to try out for throwing, but they're not made for throwing. So you have to be aware that it might break. These bent a little, so I had to hammer them back into place. First knives I ever bought before I knew anything about knife throwing is I thought smaller knives would be better because they won't hurt me as much. Smaller knife means smaller injury. However, when you go for a smaller knife, now you're risking something so small that it ricochets so fast that you can't dodge it. And these are my throwing spades, the only knives that have ever cut me. And they throw fine from half a spin, but after that they're very flimsy. I'm still scared to throw these. I mean, I tried from a full spin and it was just not successful. Don't go for the super cheap knives that are $1 a piece. It seems like a great deal, but most likely they're not going to last very long, and they might be dangerous because they might be so light and, break. I also have a pair of Gilhibben Imitation throwers. The problem with these knives is that I had two of them and they bent to the point where they were like this, and when I tried to bend them back, the tip broke off, and then after that they were just unusable. They wouldn't stick anymore. And plus these are just so small that I don't know, they just don't have the range. If you want to go back to a full spin, 1.5 spins, you don't want to go with a small knife. That being said, I did try the Gilhibben, the actual Gilhibben throwers, and they were pretty good. They felt solid. I think when you have knives designed by a knife thrower, then you're not going to get this random sharp knife that could cut you. You're going to get something that's been well designed. So after those knives, I decided I'm going to try something bigger. I went with these 8-inch knives. This is one of them. Here's another one. And I like these. So far they haven't showed much wear. I kind of like, even though this is lighter than this one, I kind of like the weight. I mean, just the feel of this one. It just feels more smoother. When something's more heavy, you don't feel, it doesn't feel as natural. But these both are fine. I mean, for 8-inch throwing knives, not bad. So if you want to go with something that's 8 inches, and usually 8-inch throwing knives are online and mass produced and easy to find and cheap for a budget, go for it. Especially if you find Gilhibben design knives, I think those are pretty good as well. And you just want to try out knife throwing, get a set. In particular, get a set of 6, because it sucks to go back and forth, retrieving knives. It just, you won't get as good enough training if you have just one knife to try. I'm making a lot of noise, dog. Was this cold steel Sureflight throwing knives. This is 12 inches in length. It's light and
so soft.